Hey everyone, John Henry here with School of Trade, and today we're going to be taking a look at a potential setup on the Russell. So the Russell earlier today, and actually at the beginning of the week, had a really strong gap higher with after we had this big sell-off right here. It's not surprising to see a little bit of a gap higher, but what that did, as soon as we opened back up from that holiday week, we immediately shot right back down, closed that gap, sold off. Everyone who was essentially buying down here made profit, and everyone who was selling down here was scared now because of this gap up. So that forced markets to come back down a little bit. Now, on that push down, we came and revisited the previous swing low here, and we created sort of a double bottom. Not an exact double bottom, but pretty close. Now, the interesting thing that happened is that created a supply zone right at that gap up. Now, normally a supply zone kind of in the middle of everything isn't going to play that big of a part in anything. It's not anything huge to kind of keep your eye out for. But in this case, this gap is going to be heavily defended. You've got all the sellers that were coming down here. This gap up, they obviously won this battle and pushed it right back down again. So we know right off the bat they're defending this gap higher. They don't want it to close above this high of the supply zone because as soon as that happens, they lose their grip, and that's when they're going to start dumping their positions. So that initial sell-off was met with buying that came right back up from that double bottom right into the supply zone. You can see once we tested it, we failed right back lower again. That's showing us that the sellers are defending this position, and that kind of caught my eye. This is a point of interest to me. Now, at this point in time, we're a couple minutes before the open, 9:25. So we still have a couple minutes before we see an actual setup from this, but what I want to see is a cross lower on the entry chart and essentially looking for a wave pattern to come in and sell this back down lower. Now, what I'm looking for is for us to hold the supply zone, at least to revisit this for a triple bottom, as well as test these wedge lows and just confirm them. They're essentially confirmed already with this test right here, so we know that those lows are pretty solid. So looking for that to be around the target area, we'll say probably around 1118, 1119 or so is going to be the final target on that one. And that coincidentally is also the start of this very large buy zone down here. Now, because of the supply zone as big as this, we can't really focus on that as an area as specific as, say, this one right here, just because it's not giving us nearly as much to work with. Now, with that in mind, we're waiting for a cross down in the entry chart, which we actually just got, so we'll bring that over here. Now, we do have a little bit to contend with. We've got the open of the day right here, but along with that, we've also got the BMTs that we need to get underneath. We have a perfect swing high for this move. Now we just need to see a push lower underneath these BMTs, and then a pullback into the BMTs for a nice golden wave pattern short, where we can hopefully take a nice chunk of profit on this very aggressive and hopefully well defended by the sellers strong move down. So that's really all we're waiting for right now. We've got the cross down, so the signal is there. Not looking to take it until we get underneath these BMTs, come back up, and then look down for a short. So while we're waiting for this to set up, we'll come back in a little bit once we have a little bit more of an idea of what's going on, and then if there is a trade to take, we'll be right on it. So we'll be back in a little bit. All right, we're back, and this is exactly what we wanted to see. We had a nice solid cross down. We already knew this anchor high was a really, really nice anchor to be using. And on top of that, now that we've got this cross down, we've pushed really, really far underneath those BMTs. We pretty much have the perfect storm that we were looking for. Our entry is directly inside of those BMTs, or at least the majority of them. That's the type of setup that we want to see for the golden wave. It's absolutely gorgeous. So now what I want to do is just go a couple ticks ahead of that target down there for the first one. We've got one contract filled so far short at 1119.8. Looking to fill the second one up there. Okay, just got that one filled. That'll be our runner. If we get filled any more, the next target to sell short is at 1120.7, and above that at 1121.4. Now, if we only get these two contracts that we've gotten so far, I'll be taking the first one off at 1117.4 and then looking to trail the final one down for a possible trailing target. We already know that the sellers are defending this position very aggressively, and we can see that right by this, extreme aggression. As soon as we met that area again, we pushed straight back down again. And that's the kind of rejection that I want to see out of those important areas. So we've got the 2 contracts filled so far, average positions at 1120, looking to fill possibly one more at 1120.7, also selling at 1121.4. We've got our stop placed up here at 1122.4, just as a catastrophic. Now, once we reach these lows at 1118.2, I'm going to drop my stop down a little bit further, tighten up a little bit, just to reduce some of the risk. But overall, looking to take one off just ahead of our extension zone down here, and then looking to trail one as we go further down. So as this trade progresses, we'll definitely keep an eye on it, and we'll come back as we get a little further into it. All right, so taking a look at this trade, this is, I mean, it's hard to ask for a trade setup better than this. I mean, honestly, even though we haven't quite hit our target yet, we're looking at 1117.4 as our target. This is exact, I mean, perfect rejection off the BMTs. Now, that's exactly what you want to see. Now, regardless of whether or not you're scaling in like I am and selling them as we go higher to kind of average in a position, or if you're waiting for confirmation, there is more than enough time for you to get into this trade. It wasn't an exact perfect setup in the sense that we had a couple different issues in the sense that we didn't have a signal reset and a few other things like that. But, overall, really, really solid trade so far. We got our first target taken out down there, and now we're looking at getting our final target trailed down as we go a little bit lower. We've got the stop locked into 1118.7, just above the swing and just above the cloud here, above the moving averages. So if we do start rejecting off of these lows, we'll lock in a decent chunk of extra change there. So overall, looking really, really solid. And now it's basically, it's essentially a free trade. It's paying me to stay in the trade now. So now we're just going to let the trade run and see what it can give us. So we'll be back with the final total on the trade, and then we'll take a look at how we did. Boy, oh boy, is it hard not to have a good smile on your face after a huge runner like that. Like I said before, when we first got into this trade, it essentially paid me to stay into the trade. And not only did it pay me to stay in the trade, trailing our stop down along with this cloud and along with the swings, it gave us triple, quadruple time, all the way down to 11:13 was our final exit. So looking at the overall trade itself, we were triggered in at 1119.8 for the first target down here for 23 ticks, which is a really, really good trade just by itself. But then you look at the second part of the trade, and the second part of the trade entered in all the way up here at 1120.2, stopped out at 1113. That gives us a total of 72 ticks, a 72-tick runner. That is a really good way to start your day. I don't know about you guys, but I'll take a 72-tick runner any day of the week. So overall, an absolutely gargantuan trade off a phenomenal pattern. I mean, that's exactly what you want to see for a golden wave. We may not have had the signal reset until down here, but taking that out of the picture, we came up into the BMTs, we came up into the open after failing off of a very aggressively held area on the 60-minute. I mean, you just can't ask for much more than that. So really, really, really solid trade. So if you guys have any questions about it, feel free to send an email to School of Trade. Be sure to get back to you as soon as we can. Have a good one.